Alexandre Saint-Exupéry was a French occultist who adopted the works of Fabre d'Olivet. Early years, born in Paris from a family of Parisian intellectuals and son of psychiatrist Alexandre Saint-Exupéry, he started his career as a physician at a naval academy in Brest, which he soon abandoned after becoming ill. In 1863, he relocated to Jersey, where he connected with Victor Hugo. In 1870, he returned to France to fight in the Franco-Prussian War, during which he was injured. He then began a career as a civil servant. In 1877, Saint-Exupéry met and married Countess Marie de Risclich-Keller, a relative of Honoré de Balzac and friend of the Empress Eugénie de Montijo, a move which made him independently wealthy. He dedicated the rest of his life to research and had a large number of influential contacts, including Victor Hugo. Saint-Exupéry later knew many of the major names in French occultism, such as Marquis Stanislas de Gaeta, Joseph van Pelandon, and Oswald Worth, and was a member of a number of Rosicrucian and Freemason-style orders. Saint-Exupéry supposedly inherited the papers of one of the great founders of French occultism, Antoine Fabre d'Olivet, 1762 to 1825. In 1877, he published the Lyrical Testament, a collection of poetry and keys of the Orient. In the latter book, he presents a solution based on developing a religious understanding between Jews, Christians, and Muslims to the question of the Orient, brought about by the decay of the Ottoman Empire, which caused tensions in the Near and Middle East. He also began to study the development of industrial applications of marine plants, utilizing extracts from seaweed, was published in 1879. But he could not perform the operation for lack of capital. In 1880, he was granted the title of Marquis of Valverdre by the government of San Marino. His book, Mission de Juif, 1884, was favorable to Jews. The material from it was used for The Secrets of the Jews, an anti-Semitic tract attributed to Julia Agrinka. Saint-Exupéry's main disciple was the prominent occultist Juha Honkus, alias Papus, who established a number of societies based on syndicalist ideas. Other notable followers include Victor Blanchard, Nizia de Montphilippe, René Chouala de Lomich, René Gounod, Émile Dantin. Saint-Exupéry's idea influenced the turbulent French politics of the early 20th century, where they served as a model for a number of right-wing groups, and also in Mexico, where syndicalist groups have had a major political role. Saint-Exupéry's on the Great Sphinx of Giza, one of the Saint-Exupéry's most influential theories nowadays, was a minor feature of his work. This is his claim that the Great Sphinx was much older than Egyptologists thought, being created around 12,000 BC. He believed the Sphinx was created by escapees from the destruction of Atlantis. He did not base this claim on any physical evidence. Saint-Exupéry's disciple, René Chouala de Lubitsch, was thus inspired to investigate the age of the Sphinx, and as a result inspired an ongoing Great Sphinx controversy over the age of the monument. Development of Synarchy. Saint-Exupéry used the term Synarchy in his book La France Vraie to describe what he believed was the ideal form of government. in reaction to the emergence of anarchist ideologies and movements. Santi had elaborated a more conservative political theological formula over a series of 4 books from 1882 onwards, which he believed would result in a harmonious society by considering it as an organic unity. This ideal was based partially on his idealism view of life in medieval Europe and also on his ideas about successful government in India, Atlantis, and ancient Egypt. He defended social differentiation and hierarchy with cooperation between social classes, transcending conflict between social and economic groups, Synarchy as opposed to anarchy. Specifically, Santi envisioned a European society with a government composed of 3 councils, representing economic power, judicial power, and scientific community, of which the metaphysical chamber bound the whole structure together. These ideas were also influenced by works such as Plato's The Republic and by Martinus. They also influenced the young Wenegundu, who published several articles on Laguiomet in his early life. Laguiomet was edited and published by Jiha Hongkos after Santi's death. As part of this concept of government, Alexandre Santi de Vitre gave an important role to secret societies, or more precisely, esoteric societies, which are composed of oracles and who safeguarded the government from behind the scenes. He saw the Rosicrucians as having fulfilled this role in medieval Europe and was involved with a number of Freemason and other groups who claimed descent from the Knights Templars. Contact with Agatha during 1885, Santi was supposedly visited by a group of Eastern initiates, one of them being named Prince Hajib Sharif. It was then that he associated Synarchy with ascended masters based in caverns of Agatha, who supposedly communicated with him telepathically. He wrote about this secret location in his Mission de Landon Europe, published in 1886, worried he had revealed too much and apparently under the influence of his Oriental contacts. He destroyed all but 2 copies of this book, one of which was owned by Jiha Hongkos, who edited and published it in 1910. Santi believed that an ancient Synarchist world government was transferred to Agatha within a hollow earth at the start of the Kali Yuga age, around 3200 BC. Santi de Vitre was the man who really introduced the concept of Agatha to the Western world. This concept was later developed by Saint Bothifa and the Fraternité des Diplômes in France, and more importantly by the Thule Gesellschaft in nationalist circles of Germany. After Santi's death, portions of the writings he left behind were compiled by a group of his friends and devotees driven by Jiha Hongkos into a volume entitled Laguiomet. The title the scientists name for a color-coded diagram he developed showing symbolic correspondences between elements in astrology, music, alphabets, gematria, and other areas. This book has been translated into Spanish and was translated into English for the first time in 2007. Publication pending. Seaweed and its magical uses. We never try to hide our love for the sea. Actually, we've got several articles on sea magic. After all, for some of us, Poseidon is a patron god. Nevertheless, sea is a source of endless wisdom, healing, and magical powers. No one has paid enough attention to the earths and powers of the sea, leaving a great source of life and magical away from their practice. We are not amongst those. Here we are going to talk about the seaweed, the common seaweed which found anyway, usually washed away from the depths of the seas and oceans, or which is called the seaweed lady's tree. This plain and humble seaweed possesses many magical powers, according to the old witches. Summoning powers. Seaweed is considered to be a great tool to summon entities which dwell in the sea. Therefore, we carefully burn it to summon mermaids and mermen to ask for their help. Undines, as they are usually called, the elementals of the water and the sea, gods and goddesses of the sea nymphs who dwell nearby, summoning the winds. As we've already told you, winds are 4 gods, which you can find here. Attracting customers, repelling powers, protection against fire and harm. So, in general, seaweed is a major element in Japanese and Korean societies. So, I'm not surprised that if they are using this as attracting customers or other magical usages. Again, I'm not against any cultures or any countries, but since our foundation of the world was pretty much built by Satan and fallen angels ever since the beginning of time, they've already infiltrated each and every single country and culture. So right now we know that some countries are the headquarters of the secret societies, mainly in Europe, and then the paganism is originated possibly from India, and then the entrance of Agatha, which is the entrance of the dwelling place of the fallen angel, the underworld, is right at the border of Tibet, China, near Afghanistan and India. The foundation of Japan and Korea was based on black magic, different elements such as seaweed. US is the end of times Babylon, and it's going to be destroyed and thrown down